To a world where everyone and their sister has a podcast comes another one. Join us weekly as we explore the dark back alleys of irreverence and the spider-infested corners of nerdkind. This is the Irreverent Nerd Podcast. Greetings, fellow nerds. I'm here with my good friend Will. Will, say hello.
Will, say hello.
So, I have an announcement to make, my fellow nerds. My good buddy Will here has agreed to be my co-host on this show on a weekly basis forever. No, just kidding. We've had a good time doing the two joint episodes, and honestly, this will be, I think, just a fun way for us to connect as friends, in addition to what we hope will be fun for you guys.
Yes.
So, along with that announcement, we are announcing a new format and sort of a new name. It's now going to be Irreverent Nerds. You know, nerds, like the S being in parentheses, because there's two of us. Yeah. So, I'm not the only irreverent nerd anymore. Will is also an irreverent nerd.
Am I an irreverent nerd?
Yes.
Well, Super Mario is very irreverent, so that's true.
We're both irreverent nerds. So, just a little quick rundown of how this week's episode is going to go. And each week is going to follow a similar format to this. So, we're going to start out with what we call a 2-minute drill, where each of us gives a little bit about our life and just what's going on personally. And then we're going to move into what are we reading. So, preferably a comic book, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Just what have we been reading over the past week? What have we found interesting? Then we'll do a segment on what are you watching. That could be a TV show that we're watching that week. We'll both take turns kind of talking about what we've been watching individually, or, as is the case tonight, if we just watched something together, we'll do a review of it together. And segue into that, what are you watching? So tonight we'll be talking about Morbius.
Morbius! I missed my cue.
It's okay. We just finished watching that, and we'll do a review of that. And then we'll have independent segments where each of us will record one on our own. I will do a sci-fi focus each week, and Will is going to start out, at least for now, doing a Japan jaunt. Will has, for many years, been enthusiastic about all things Japan, Japanese history, Japanese anime, Japanese manga. So
I haven't considered myself an otaku in over 10 years, but it's still there. I definitely read a lot more that than I did Marvel and DC.
The love is still there. You read it, friends.
That's true.
So he's going to do a little segment on something related to Japan and entertainment in some fashion, or Japanese history, perhaps, whatever he wants to do this week.
Nice.
And then we'll come back and close it up. So, let's jump into it. 2-minute drill. Will, what's been going on in your life this past week?
I've almost completed my Ghostbusters Proton Pack build. I've installed the lights. Right now I'm working on, it's from the Ghostbusters, the video game, the exact build right now. I'm installing the slime tank hose and whatnot. So that's interesting. Ordered some new parts. Hopefully that'll be done, and my wife can stop being upset that I've overran her whole kitchen and dining room because I need plenty of surface space.
Oh, nice. You have to build yourself a workshop one of these days, right?
Yep.
Well, that's only 30 seconds, so what else is going on in your life?
Recently, my church had me record a video of me talking about why I like going to church there.
Oh, okay.
What else is going on? My wife is getting a promotion. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, my wife is getting a promotion at work to supervisor. That's great.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
That might happen in the next week or two.
Uh,
She's really excited about it. Um,
And your wife
basically,
is
she's getting her boss's job. So
Your wife has been a CNA, is that correct?
No, she's in housekeeping at the nursing home.
Oh, okay.
She used to be a PCA,
but
they didn't when she was working part-time as a PCA for a couple of years, year and a half there. And so when she got this full-time job at the nursing home, unfortunately they didn't have any nursing positions open or available at the time. But she decided she likes where she's at, and her boss is going to be doing the business side of things, payroll and whatnot. And she's actually, the boss is doing everything right now. She's working for 3 different departments.
Wow.
So this is going to be a lot of stress off of her when Mandy gets that position. Yeah, I'm sorry I flew by the church thing. I didn't know, that's the kind of thing we're going to talk about here. Anyway,
no, you're fine, man.
But yeah, that happened in my life, but
and your 2 minutes is up.
Oh, I was just getting started. You got me on the ball now.
Oh, no, yeah. Well, that's why we call it the 2-minute drill.
Okay.
We don't want to bore these lovely nerds with too much of our life, right?
Got a comic page done, and I colored another page for Redline Comic Studio. Anyway.
Nice.
Well, that's it, really. I think that was my whole week.
Maybe we'll do a 3-minute drill next week, but for now, we'll do 2-minute. All right, so here's my 2 minutes, so hold me to it. All right. I did say a few things in there, so you can jump in on occasion if you want. Let me see.
Boop,
well,
boop.
I didn't have a baby. My wife had a baby, but gave birth to a human. So that didn't happen.
You're not Arnold Schwarzenegger?
That didn't happen since last Wednesday, but it did happen recently. So that's taken up a lot of our time and about half of our sleep.
All your mental resources.
Yeah. The first month or two is always the toughest, where the baby has to get into nocturnal sleep patterns. Because typically during pregnancy, they are awake at night when the mom is still, and sleeping.
I'm still awake at night.
Sometimes they're awake during the day and they'll kick and stuff, but a lot of times they'll sleep when the mother is moving during the day. The baby will sleep, so that has to slowly reverse. And
Mandy does hate it when I kick her during the night.
You don't moan, do you?
Well,
you don't have to answer that.
That'd probably be why she gets up and goes and sleeps in the other bedroom.
Oh no! Just like
my snoring.
That would be a little freaky in the middle of the night. Oh man, yeah.
I'm sorry, I told you I was here to interrupt and make jokes.
I definitely snore. My wife does too. If I'm on my back, it's really bad. If I'm on my side, I'll occasionally snore on my side, but usually I'm not too bad on my side. Same for my wife.
I broke his brain. He's derailed now.
I do have a friend that will remain unnamed and innocent. Who moans in his sleep on occasion. Oh, rats! I shouldn't have said his gender. Sorry, nameless friend. You know who you are. But no, he and I were roommates briefly years ago, and I had heard stories about the moaning, and then I got to hear it for real.
Roommate?
I did.
I didn't know that.
I'm not gonna say his name, but
this is news to me. We've known each other for over a decade.
It was only for a couple months, and then he bailed on me. Sadly.
Bailed?
Yeah, he left.
Jerk.
I know. Come on, man. I miss it. I missed his moaning after he left. But no.
He misses your moaning.
That sounds a little
Call
weird.
him up.
That sounds inappropriate. Oh, my 2 minutes. My 2 minutes are up.
In his ear.
Okay, that was 2.5 minutes. You got 2.5 minutes too, though, so that works out. So yeah, it's a nice, neat little 5-minute segment there.
I hope you actually said everything, because I butted in a lot.
All right, so if I can figure out how to edit this thing and put in little segues, there'll be a little segue right here. But for now,
segue.
I'm going to transition into what are you reading? So this could be loosely related to comic books or very specifically a comic book. What have you been reading the past week?
Well, I've been reading, not in the past week, but...
Or just since we met last, however long that's been, a week and a half?
Further than a week back, I was reading Usagi Jimbo Tango War.
Tango.
I got that...
Is that the newest one?
Yeah, by Stan Sakai. I got that on the day it released. It was delivered to my house through Amazon.
Nice.
I've been following Stan Sakai's work since the late 90s, I think. I can't remember. I was introduced to Isagi through the old Ninja Turtle cartoon, but you know what? That probably should be for a Japan jaunt. But anyway, more...
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, you should totally do one on Mr. Sakai.
Yeah, so I was definitely reading... I read that.
Okay.
Well, I'll talk about that more later. I've also been reading Ghosts from Our Past by authors Abby Yates and Aaron Gilbert. I forget. Yeah.
So what's that about?
Ghosts.
Well, yeah, okay. Like real ghosts or like metaphorical ghosts?
Both.
Both.
Figuratively and literally.
Okay. So like some actual ghost stories and stuff.
You know, ghost stories.
But then like metaphorical ghosts from my past, skeletons in my closet kind of thing.
Yeah. You know, after they saved New York, you know, they did update it, you know. It's the Ghostbusters edition now.
Oh, is it? Is this actually connected to Ghostbusters?
It's the book from 2016 reboot.
Oh.
They actually made a real book.
That's
Ghosts from Our Past. So I got that from Amazon. Only took a few weeks.
That sounds like a fun read, actually.
Yeah. I'm actually really enjoying it so far. See, that's right. I'm not one of those 2016 haters.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Like it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great either, but it was a little too different from the originals, I felt like. But I enjoyed it.
True.
Yeah. Obviously the very talented actresses and comedians lighting up the screen there. You know, I think the funniest one was I can't think of her name. I can't think of the actress's name right now. She has blonde hair. She's on SNL, or used to be on SNL.
It's probably Kristen Wiig.
No, not Kristen Wiig.
Melissa McCarthy.
She was also. No. Are you looking it up? It was. Oh, dang it.
Was it Kate McKinnon?
Yes, Kate McKinnon.
Okay.
That's who I was trying to think of.
It has the real Ghostbusters Egon hair.
I remember loving her. I think it was the first movie I'd seen her in.
Well, that's appropriate that Ghostbuster actors and actresses come from SNL. It really is.
Well, Kristen Wiig did, and Melissa McCarthy came from Gilmore Girls originally. Like, that was her first big hit. I know this because my wife loves Gilmore Girls. And
This is true.
Does your wife love Gilmore Girls?
No, but my mom did. We watched it all the time when I was young.
Yeah, I like it myself, to be honest with you. I enjoyed it.
I
something
do too.
Very pleasant about it.
Luke's Dark Day.
Yeah, and it's got James Gunn's brother, isn't it?
I remember things.
You know?
Really? I didn't know that.
He plays the really awkward guy.
Well, you know.
Kirk? I think his name is Kirk.
I watched it with my mom and tried getting my wife into it. And I was like, oh, that's Melissa McCarthy. Well, she looks young. But I didn't necessarily recognize or know that when I was a kid, you know. But
she's probably early 30s at that point, like when it started. Anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
so there's a lot, I would say, that I didn't notice watching the show when I was a kid. I haven't actually binged or got into it as an adult much. Just long enough to see Melissa McCarthy of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Luke's
that's
Dark Day.
actually quite a few actors and actresses who are now famous but weren't necessarily famous back then had roles on that show, either a guest role or like a recurring guest role. Mila Ventimiglia, who was later on Heroes, you know, comic book reference there. Well, technically it's not from a comic book, although they made a comic book for the show.
I thought they made a comic book.
Cool. The first season was still the best. But and then now he's on This Is Us, which my wife and I have been watching. Excellent show. But yeah, he I don't know if that was his first role, but I think it was his first big role he played on Gilmore Girls. Bet you didn't think we were going to talk about Gilmore Girls tonight. Oh, let's see. Okay. We are the Irreverent Nerds, so you'll never know what's going to happen.
I have ADD.
I have AD. Well,
So this is just how this conversation's going to go.
wait, I thought you had ADHD. You have
I don't
ADHD or
know.
AD? You don't know?
My mom corrected me recently and be like, you don't know, you were diagnosed as ADD when you were 5.
Oh, so not ADHD.
I guess not.
Yeah, I've got one of those too as well. I'm pretty darn
Really?
sure. Like, I want to get tested actually,
Yeah.
like legitimately. In fact, I'd refer to your doctor if you could let me know after the episode. No,
After you
but seriously,
feel better, doctor.
I've wondered for years if I have it because, I actually did a blog post on this recently. In my other creative.
Do you still have a blog?
I do actually.
Okay. You'll have to send that link to me later.
Plug for my blog, empathicecologist.blogspot.com. Check it out.
I can't repeat that word. Empathic ecologist?
Empathic, like
Empathic.
Empathic ecologist.
Ecologist.
I also have a YouTube channel that's they're kind of tied together.
So you care about the environment.
Yeah, well, it's like the idea.
So that is what that is.
Yeah, well,
okay, great.
But it's kind of like I'm the empathic ecologist. It's kind of like, in a sense, it became sort of like a new identity for me of kind of like empathy is something I feel that is really important. Like empathizing with other humans, with other animals. It's a natural ability I think all humans have, with a few exceptions, like psychopaths who are born without it, or without very much of it. But in general, like all humans have that, and it's what drives like our compassion, and it literally, like, we have these mirror neurons in our brain. Like, you can literally feel someone else's pain. Like, you see someone else who's hurting or struggling, and literally the same pain centers, light up in your brain that are lighting up in the other person's brain. Not to the same extent, of course, but like you can feel their pain. But empathy, I mean, it's not just that, but it's also empathizing with positive emotions as well. So I feel like that's just like I came to see that just as a really important value, and something I want to develop, I guess, in myself. Of like, but then ecology is just kind of like understanding the relationship between other living things, like, whether it be humans and how we relate to one another, how humans interact with our environment, as well as how we interact with other living creatures. So it's pretty broad ranging, but it's kind of like I want to understand the world I live in, but I want to empathize with other sentient creatures as well, and with the ultimate goal, hopefully, of making our lives better.
Cool,
mine
cool.
and theirs, I hope. So that's kind of something I came to. I think I've talked a little bit about in the podcast. Not going to get into detail here, but just had big belief changes and stuff over the last couple of years, and been trying to rediscover my values, I guess, in a sense. Anyway, if you want to, check that out, fellow nerds. empathicecologist.blogspot.com.
Yeah, I haven't studied a lot of that. I was going to make a joke earlier and be like, maybe there's a chapter on it from Ghosts from Our Past. But you actually explained the science behind that pretty well. I mean,
well, thank you.
I didn't know that.
I got it from
that's
Wikipedia.
What?
I read a Wikipedia article on ecology.
No, I meant the whole sensing what other people are feeling thing.
Oh, yeah. That I have learned from some other sources. I couldn't name them all right now. But
since I didn't understand that, for me, that was more like psychic phenomenon.
Well, it is.
Okay.
Oh, man. We should talk about that at some point. Do like an episode on psychic powers. So I guess I should talk about what I've been reading. I'll do that real quick here because we're going long on this segment. But
truth is out there.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I do have an X-Files book in my drawer at work. It's one of my bathroom books. If I need to go take a shit, I take a book with me sometimes. And
you have an X-Files book?
I do have an X-Files book.
Is it a comic book or
no? It's
magazine?
a legit novel, like an X-Files
novel.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet. I'm like halfway through it. And,
cool.
Yeah, it fits in my pocket. It's like a pocketbook, so it literally fits in my back pocket.
Did you know that there was a X-Files Ghostbusters crossover?
Really?
I haven't read it, but I want to.
Comics or novel?
Comics.
That sounds interesting.
IDW.
I have read a few X-Files comics, not recently, but yeah, I've dabbled in a few, and then I've read a couple of novels. I think at least maybe two novels. This is like my second or third novel somewhere in there that I'm working through. And obviously, my wife and I are almost done finished watching the entire series. Like, we've got 2 episodes left, and like, she'll probably come on and we'll talk on one of my little sci-fi focus segments, and we'll talk about the X-Files. So
cool.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, we've been watching it for the last 6 years. Over the last 6 years, we're finally about to finish it.
That's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
What streaming service is that on? Netflix?
It was. It's on
HBO?
Hulu.
Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
Oh, I have Hulu.
Hulu is like connected to 20th Century Fox, which is now owned by Disney.
Did they have the X-Files movie or the new series?
They've got all 11 seasons, which includes like the 2 newer seasons.
Sorry to
and
interrupt.
then
I'm gonna have to look into that.
They might have had one or both of the movies as well, I think. But yeah, I really like the X-Files. I didn't watch it when it was coming out because my parents probably wouldn't have let me back in the day, and I was just into other things at the time as well. But watching it as an adult has been fun. Like, I've really enjoyed it. So once again, I'm rabbit trailing. What have I been reading? So I'll talk real briefly about. So like we reviewed the first Moon Knight episode, and you watched the second one?
Yeah,
too,
I
right?
did. I did. It was really good.
Yeah, I like to do. My wife's getting into it. She's
cool.
She's getting excited.
Mandy refused to watch the second episode.
Yeah, my wife's like, this is really interesting. Oh yeah. In between, I think it was in between episodes. When I started reading a Moon Knight comic, I currently have Kindle Unlimited, so there's actually quite a few comics on there that they have.
Cool.
Like every now and then, like I'll do a thing where they offer me a 3-month deal, like 3 months for $10 or something like that, and I'll snatch it up, and then when the 3 months are up, if I remember, I'll cancel it, and then they'll try to get me back with another one, and I'll do it again, and like it's pretty cool. There's all kinds of books you can read and stuff, including quite a few comic books. A lot of times it's like you just get to read the first one in like a series, or like the first graphic novel in a series. And then, obviously, they want you to buy the other ones. But, like, the first one they'll let you read as part of the subscription. Anyway, so I read a Moon Knight comic, and it was very violent and bloody.
Well, it must have been a modern Moon Knight, then.
Probably. I don't know. Do you remember?
I think
we might have how far does Moon Knight go back? I think
30 or some years.
So, yeah, probably back, well, let's see.
I mean, I think it might have been the 70s or the 80s.
If you get into the 80s, like, I don't know about Marvel, but I know DC was starting to get a little bloody in the 80s, a little more violent, like with Frank Miller and stuff like.
I'm not sure. I think Marvel held out for a little longer.
Yeah, so.
Before they got darker.
But yeah, this one was definitely, my goodness, was bloody and somewhat gruesome. Like, he's quite violent. Like, in this particular iteration, it's Mark, I think. This one was with Mark Spector. In this particular iteration, I think he was ex-military, and
I think that's what he is in the show.
I think that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, he might.
Yeah,
he probably is. Like, I know you talked some about the background of like he was like ex-military, and then he died, and then Khonshu brought him back to life.
And he talked about that in episode 2. I think he said he was ex-military, didn't he? Or something.
I'm trying to remember. That's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so similar storyline, and then in this one he is also, or has been, rich. So that's where, like, I think when I first watched that or read the first comic, Moon Knight, like, it was like he reminded me of Bruce Wayne because he was like wealthy and he was going around fighting crime, etc. Like in this one though, a little different. Like I think he puts on the suit. He doesn't summon.
Right.
Doesn't summon the suit.
Right.
So a different universe, I guess. Or maybe they just wanted to make it more interesting more visually interesting for the show, because it is pretty cool. When the suit,
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's new for the show. That's more of a convenience thing.
Yeah, than him having to go and just suit up like Batman.
I mean, there's still a lot I don't know about Moon Knight, but I assume that probably the original Moon Knight comics, he really was just getting in and out of the suit.
Yeah, I think it is in this one. But in this one, he's an older Moon Knight, and he gotten like seriously injured in a fight with one of his nemesis.
I think I heard about that.
So he's like in a wheelchair, I think initially, and he's spending his time sitting in his room in front of a giant statue of Khonshu, and he's like eventually like talking, but Khonshu was like silent for a while, and he can't, it's just. But yeah, it's just a lot of it's in his head and very much about the psychology, of Mark Spector / Moon Knight. But then there's a lot of conversations between him and Khonshu in it as well. But yeah, it's definitely a very violent comic. Lots of blood, and he kills a lot when he's in the Moon Knight persona.
Lot.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's like the Punisher in gray tights. Yeah. Or technically, I guess it's supposed to be a white suit, because he's like, I want my enemies to see me coming.
I think that's just because he's
when they see me
Avatar of the
coming,
Moon.
they know vengeance is coming, etc. Instead of hiding like Batman, he's like that. So anyway, that's I think that's the only comic I read this past week or so. Was that one?
You can see Mark right now getting drunk, yelling at God, throwing his beer bottle, shattering on God's statue. Why won't you talk to me? Sorry.
Channeling Christian Bale, Batman.
Oh, I don't know. I was going for a drunk voice.
Oh,
sure.
okay.
That works.
Drunk voice.
I want you to talk.
Why talk to me?
Talk to. Why did you forsake me?
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was some of that. All right, so we should probably get into our review of Morbius here. This is our "What Are You Watching" segment, instead of which we did end up talking a little bit about some things we've watched recently, but instead of doing the normal weekly segment this week, we're going to do a movie review. So we are literally sitting outside of the theater here. We just went to see it tonight. So first thoughts, Will.
Morbius.
Yes.
Morbius. Well,
oh, by the way, spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
This has been a warning. You have been warned. Spoilers are coming. If you haven't seen this yet, fast forward to the next segment. Or come back later. All right, continue, Will.
Or both. So originally, this thing was getting like review bombed. It's terrible. Don't watch it. And well, silly me. I should have known by now. And I've often said in the past, don't listen to reviews because they're always wrong. But anyway, so for some reason, I just listened to them this time. But comic book people I'm friends with on Facebook, comic book associates, other creators, indie comic creators, and et cetera and so forth. They're all saying, it's a good movie. They said, it'll be even better if you don't know anything about Morbius, which I don't know a whole lot. My only knowledge of my only personal experience with Morbius is from the 1990 Spider-Man animated TV series, Spider-Blood. You got radioactive spider blood.
Oh, yeah, which, man.
By the way, the original comics, his blood was not radioactive. But anyway.
Yeah, and they have that like hard rock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. I watched that back in the 90s as well.
Yeah.
And afterwards, when it was in syndication. Like,
your parents let you watch Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I
did get to watch Spider-Man and Batman. What? Batman as well.
A joke. Someone else we used to know, his parents wouldn't let him watch Spider-Man. But that was Spider-Man, his amazing friends. They wouldn't let him watch. I don't know. But
yeah, that was my first exposure to Spider-Man, was that series. But I don't remember a Morbius episode. I may have seen it and just don't remember.
Well, he was pure white and
okay.
had some black on, and if I remember correctly, it's been a very long time. But I think that he was definitely a villain. But then again, that show, I really need to read the comics. I mean, like I've said earlier, I haven't really read a lot of DC and Marvel. My experience with DC and Marvel has mostly been the cartoons, and the movies. Anyway, so Morbius from the Spider-Man animated series of the 90s, as far my memory is that Spider-Man's trying to help him. He is a doctor. He is conflicted. But what drives him is that he needs to drink Spider-Man's blood exclusively. Well, not his blood, his plasma, his energy, his life force. And I think I read up on that the original Morbius comics, he was a consumer of the life force, but that was because of the Comics Code Authority. And as a matter of fact, using science to create a scientific living vampire might have also been a way that Marvel got around the Comics Code Authority, because you weren't actually allowed to make horror characters. You weren't. So they had to be creative in how do we put a vampire in these comics. And actually, I think Morbius was originally a Fantastic Four villain.
Huh.
I learned that earlier,
Interesting.
just earlier tonight. But just comparing his comic origin with this movie we just watched.
I've heard rumors that they're bringing the Fantastic Four back in some fashion.
Cool.
Possibly into the MCU, which would be awesome.
That would be cool.
I'm trying to think who I heard they might have play Reed Richards. I think I heard a rumor about an actor. I can't think of the name right now. Anyway, it's like anything would be better than the last movie. It was so boring.
I haven't even seen that.
Oh man, don't bother.
Other than superhero fatigue, I think I've just lost faith in certain companies.
Properties.
Yeah.
Like,
and Sony was unfortunately one of the ones I lost faith in, but Morbius was good.
Yeah. Like I enjoyed it. Like it was. Yeah, like the pacing was decent. Sorry, there's somebody running towards us right now. The pacing was decent, and
He's just getting his exercise on.
I guess
Got that that regular show hoodie on.
yeah. I like that they've updated the lighting in this parking lot. Like it used to be so dim, and it's not the best part of town. It's not the worst part either. But
The
it's
bar's
not the
gone.
best one. Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it is gone. Yeah, what do you know? I think they moved. Anyway, but yeah, no, I thought it was good, and I enjoyed it. I got into it. I cared about the characters for the most part. Like, and I guess that's a cue to talk about performances. Like, what did you think of Jared Leto's performance?
It was really good. I prefer him in this role than I did the Joker.
Yeah, same here.
And I don't necessarily think it would Joker. Some of my complaints of the Joker were not his fault. It was just the way he was written.
And edited and stuff.
Yeah, and how the makeup department and whatnot wanted him to look. Like I think we discussed before, he was actually good at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did like that.
Yeah.
The nightmare scene, or the nightmare timeline, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
that was cool. Yeah.
But I loved Jared Leto in this film. He does a great job as this character. And I don't want to jump around too much. I forgot my ADD is kicking in or something, but I keep forgetting what we're doing and where we are on the outline. But
Yeah.
I hope I can say this without getting ahead of ourselves, that they made Morbius. I know Morbius was popular enough that he came back in the comics and that he eventually got his own title. But I don't know a lot about Morbius. I don't know. If he got his own title, then he must have been some sort of heroic or anti-hero of some kind in order to carry his own book, because I don't think...
Now, I just saw this the other day. I was at McKay's just looking through their comics, and I saw a Thanos comic. So, like,
Right.
So it's not unprecedented, I guess, for them to give like a villain.
Well, in the last
his own comic.
In the last 10 years or so, Thanos has had his own comic book series, and he has become an Avenger.
Really?
Yeah, so, it's this... That's
That's funny.
So he even fought himself in a different, due to time travel or alternate dimensions. Fought an evil version of himself. He's more or less become a good guy in the comics, I guess.
It was definitely one of the most compelling Marvel villains of any of the MCU films, if not the most compelling.
Absolutely. But what I'm trying to say is Morbius, he really is a hero. I felt like I was watching a Sam Raimi Spider-Man film for some reason. All of those are really campy in retrospect. But for some reason, I don't know, it was really good. This was a superhero movie. He killed a few people, but that's true of his origin story too. We did say spoiler alert. They gave him a villain, which I don't know that this character even exists in the comic books.
Oh yeah, so his friend Milo, or Lucian, but he calls him Milo. They both have the same, I guess, rare blood disorder, where they have to have a transfusion. Basically a transfusion every day. I think he said 3 times a day. It's pretty intense. But then, obviously, Michael Morbius, is intelligent and brilliant. And now, I will say the way they showed that was a little silly. It was he fixes the machine, and he's like, "Wow, you fixed that machine. I'm gonna send you to America.
You're a genius.
I'm a genius." Which was cool, but I was like,
silly.
I was like, that doesn't necessarily compute.
No,
but
don't touch our machines ever again.
You fixed,
but I fixed
that.
Well, yeah, you did, but I don't care. Don't touch it.
You fixed that with a ballpoint pen spring. It was like, yeah, and I knew pretty much right away that the Lucian character / Milo was going to be the villain.
I didn't.
Really? So you didn't pick up on that?
Well, I figured it out.
Yeah.
By the time, because he eyeballed the 2 serums or whatever they were called, and then next thing we knew, at first I thought it was Morbius, but then I realized no, that's his friend. Before he finished killing her, I knew the nurse was like, that's definitely the friend.
See,
but I didn't. You caught on a lot faster than
that. I didn't figure out, but for me, I think it was at least the point at which, where he loses the letter, and then he's going down there to try to retrieve it from the bullies.
Yeah, that was the setup.
Then he just lets loose and whacks him with his crutch, and then jumps on the other one and starts beating him because he's so angry. He's like, oh yeah, he's going to be the villain. It was I think that's the point where it definitely clicked at that point.
Yeah.
If it hadn't already.
Well, that's why
snuck in there.
I said this was a superhero movie, even though Morbius is supposed to be a villain from Spider-Man. It's because, they did even though this is not an MCU film, they did the classic MCU, your mirror self is the villain. In Iron Man 1, it was another Iron Man. In Captain America, it was another super soldier, although that makes a lot more sense because Red Skull really was his major villain in the comics. In Thor, it was Loki. That made sense, though. I can't remember where I'm going with this. Anyway, what was the other Avengers? The Hulk? Okay, the Hulk fought the Abomination.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know if the guy that Iron Man fought in his movie even exists in the comics. I think he did, but...
Oh, yeah, Obadiah.
I think he did? I don't know.
Could be.
But
I haven't read very many Iron Man comics. I've read a few, but not many.
Maybe I should rewatch that film. I was a little underwhelmed with the first Iron Man, but I know it started
honestly, all 3 Iron Men's, the first one was probably my favorite of the 3. The second one was anyway, that's a different topic.
Yeah, so Morbius, he fights another vampire. I wasn't expecting it because Morbius fights Spider-Man.
Right.
They all fight Spider-Man. What are we doing? We're creating a universe without Spider-Man. What are you doing, Sony? But actually, this movie was really good. It holds up, and no matter who Morbius is in the comics, I think this made a lot of sense. This film, the character made a lot of sense. He is a doctor. He's taken a Hippocratic oath. He cares about people. He's conflicted. I like the character in this film, but I didn't see him fighting another vampire because I don't even think that there is. I think he's the only one in the comics. I mean, if he carried his own series, maybe they introduced a Milo or Lucian character. I don't know.
Yeah, like, one thing I was going to say, like, even though they basically telegraphed that, at least from my perspective, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was Matt Smith playing his friend / the guy who becomes the villain. Like,
He looked familiar. I don't know who that is, but he
Doctor
looked
Who.
familiar. Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, and I've seen him in a couple other things, I think, as well. And, but yeah, Doctor Who was, like, his big breakout.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the second second Doctor Who in the Marvel movies and TV shows.
Wait, who was the other one?
The Purple Man from Jessica Jones.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's really good in Broadchurch, by the way. If you haven't seen
I have
Broadchurch,
not seen that.
it's excellent series. Anyway, but yeah, like, even though they kind of telegraphed it, I still enjoyed it, and I enjoyed their relationship. And like, it more or less made sense. Like he snapped a little bit quick, but they give you the scene, you know, where he shows his violent side, and then obviously he's been dealing with a terminal illness essentially, or terminal, you know, his whole life, and been facing that, and then he finally finds a way to survive longer, and he just wants to, like, latch on to that.
Yeah.
But because he has those violent tendencies as well, like, he doesn't have the same problem drinking human blood as Morbius. Like, Morbius does it more out of instinct at first, and can't fully control it when it first happens.
Blacked out.
Yeah, like,
Forgot.
he didn't even know what happened. Like, he found out after the fact by watching, like, the security camera and stuff. Like,
so, speaking of the Milo Lucian character, I kind of feel like he didn't really care about Morbius. They weren't really friends. I feel like he was just using Morbius to get what he wanted, which is a cure. And basically, when he got it, I pretty much knew I thought he had already killed the doctor. But then here he shows up. Well, he does kill the doctor.
yeah.
I don't remember his name. But it's like, I already figured it out, you know, he doesn't need these people anymore. He's going to kill them. I actually assumed, I was wondering, first of all, how did he inject himself? Because Morbius had to have it injected into his spinal cord.
Yeah. Well, I guess he got to help. Like, I'm assuming while he was in the lab, he managed to grab, or either that he came back later and managed to grab one of the serums. You know, when he came to see him there.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
he could have come back.
But somehow he got a hold of...
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He came back that night that he killed the nurse.
So was the nurse... Well,
so
yeah.
Like, he snuck back in that night, and then...
But he made it sound like he killed the nurse on purpose. That wasn't his blackout moment.
No, like, he did talk about how it took him over, that he didn't set out necessarily to kill the nurse. Like, that was his first kill.
I assume
so probably same as I think he did reference, like, it's like, you know what it's like at the same time. But then obviously after that, like, he very deliberately continued to kill humans. Like,
I could be wrong. I just assumed the nurse was at least his second kill.
I don't think so. Like,
I think
she was his first.
I think he
That was the impression
purposely killed her to frame Morbius, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, I think, like, it did seem like, because he did talk about, like, he wanted Morbius to embrace his vampirism, I guess, for lack of a better term, and for them to kind of go, like, run the world together, you know, more or less, like, go off as friends, and
Yeah.
So, like, he had some interest in that.
I think the doctor accused him of framing Morbius later, but that could have just been his viewpoint.
I don't know. It didn't sound like that was his motive for that particular kill.
Oh, okay.
But
I could have just been reading that into it.
maybe he thought of it after the fact. Like after he killed her, maybe he thought of like, oh, if I just leave this body here, they'll think Morbius did it.
Yeah.
That's possible, but yeah, I don't think he plotted it before the kill necessarily. Like
He might not have, because if he had been smart, maybe he would have left New York before he started killing again, because otherwise it was just evidence that Morbius wasn't doing it.
yeah.
So maybe I'm giving Milo too much credit. He is not the smartest.
Yeah, he wasn't as smart as Michael Morbius, but
Killed the doctor in his own home.
yeah.
Didn't even hide the body or...
If he's like, what could the police do to me?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry. Let's see. We should probably be wrapping this review up.
Is that the last thing in our outline? I know it's getting late though, but...
Yeah, like we're gonna finish this up and then we'll do our 2 other segments and I'll edit it all together, release it Wednesday.
Adrian Toomes!
Oh yeah, I guess we'll finish up by talking. Yeah, we did tell you, spoiler alert. So obviously if you've already seen it, like you know what's going on, or if you're one of those people that likes to spoil things for yourself.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, so Adrian Toomes shows up. They imply like it happens during like the end of No Way Home, where like the universe is like cracking.
The sky split and we saw bats in Morbius. Next thing we know, Adrian Toomes is in a cell.
Yeah, he like just shows up in the Morbius universe in the same cell I guess he was in the other universe. And since he hasn't committed any crimes in that universe, like they let him go.
But he still remembers Spider-Man. Maybe
yeah.
not, maybe
well, I mean,
not
he's
Tom
the same,
Holland, Peter Parker.
He's the same person, so he's not.
Yeah.
Like they imply he's the one from the MCU.
Right.
I think. So like obviously.
No, he is the one from the MCU. But
so like his memory didn't get wiped or anything.
No,
like
maybe he doesn't remember Peter Parker, but he remembers Spider-Man. Yeah.
That's true. He is like, I'm not sure how I got there. I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. I think is what he said. But yeah, but he is propositioning Morbius there at the end for what you were saying is probably going to be a Sinister Six.
Yeah, I think so.
Is Venom part of that in some of the iterations?
I think I'm not sure, but I think Sinister Six, I used to know, my memory's fuzzy, I think it was Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, Mysterio, Adrian Toomes, Vulture is definitely one of the Sinister Six. Sandman? Yeah, Sandman, yeah. Sandman was one of them. I forgot he existed for a second there. And Venom. I think those are the Sinister Six.
I wonder if they'll have Thomas Haden Church.
I don't think Morbius was, but why not, right?
Like, that'd be cool if they got Thomas Haden Church for Sandman.
Cool.
And then, now is it DC Comics that has a Sandman series? Or is that Marvel?
I think that's public domain now. I'm not sure, because I know that...
Neil Gaiman did the writing and stuff on a lot of it.
When I was trying to do...
I don't think it's the same Sandman, though, is it?
Yeah, Neil Gaiman, yeah. They brought Neil Gaiman... I thought they brought Neil Gaiman's Sandman back, or at least the public domain version, for Charlton Neo, back when I was trying to do the hip-hop comic, me and Dan Johnson for Charlton Neo. So I remember that. But that's a different Sandman.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different Sandman. I don't...
So then... So maybe Dr. Octopus, and so the question is it going to be Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin from the most recent Spider-Man movie, or I wonder, or same actors maybe?
I want to talk to you about that actually, because Sony, I've heard that they've recently said there is a Spider-Man in the Venom/Morbius universe, but they haven't revealed which one. It's obviously not Tom Holland's Spider-Man because of No Way Home, and the fact that Adrian Toomes has popped over to this universe. So I wanted to talk to you about this on this podcast before we ended.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to talk to you since before we started about this one topic. Which universe do you think this is? Do you think this is the Sam Raimi universe? Do you think this is the Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker universe? Or do you think that this is an entirely new Spider-Man that we've never been introduced to before?
Like maybe it'll be them bringing in Miles Morales, perhaps?
Maybe. Miles Morales actually exists in the MCU because they mentioned him in the first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
But there could be multiple Miles Moraleses. So who knows? What do you think?
I feel like if they were to pick one of the three, I feel like Andrew Garfield would be the most likely.
I've been thinking
Seemed
about
like it would fit his universe better, like the tone and stuff and everything. I think
the Venom and Morbius movies fit his tone better.
I also think he might be more likely to want to do another Spider-Man film as opposed to Tobey.
I heard they might do that, another Spider-Man.
But if Tobey wanted to come, like that, I'd be happy with that too. Like that'd be pretty cool.
Some people are saying they'd like. See, my idea was bring Tobey back, get him killed Miles Morales because he can't be Spider-Man forever. But someone else said, "Hey, well, why?" I've been seeing this on Facebook. The idea is to bring in Spider-Girl, Peter Parker, Mary Jane's daughter, and that would be cool too.
I've heard some rumors of that. Like, and they might even bring in. What's her name? That played Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, not Gwen. I almost said Gwenpool. Okay, Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider. Yeah, that's an option too, not just Miles Morales. She wouldn't be called Spider-Man though. Never mind.
Yeah, they might
you
even.
You know what I mean.
I've heard they might bring the same actress in that played in the Andrew Garfield universe. I just heard the rumor about it.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Might be more of a wishful, fans wishing for that. But yeah, she was a good Gwen Stacy, I thought.
Well, I'd like for them to bring Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider, in eventually into one of these Marvel universes.
Well, if you can have Pepper Potts in an Iron Man suit, why not Spider-Gwen?
Yeah, and I still say
Iron Woman. I'm sorry.
I still say Pepper Potts was replaced by a Skrull.
Yes, really?
Yes.
I hadn't heard this theory.
Wait, well, no, I'm the only one who posits this theory. I believe this theory for years now. This is my moment to be a conspiracy theorist.
So Tony Stark had a baby with a Skrull?
Yes. It's a Skrull baby. Why not? Donnie, the Human Torch, had a baby with a Skrull.
Did he really?
Yeah. I think the baby was miscarried, though, but still.
Chris Evans. Ladies' man.
So, okay, I forgot about the daughter, but it's possible. I mean, the only reason I thought that is because there was rumor of Skrulls coming. This is before the Captain Marvel film, and I know we need to wrap this up. My wife's messaging me stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting texts from my wife. It's getting late.
But, I'm kidding. Anyway,
she knows this too well. She's beforehand. It's like, yeah, you both have tunnel vision. It's like you're gonna get off in rabbit trails and talking for too long.
Well, isn't that what a podcast is?
Yeah, but that's also what we have. I told her, okay, we got an outline and we're gonna try to. I'm gonna try to have a time limit. So I was like, I'm trying to stick to that.
Yeah,
we've gone over a little bit.
Well, I'll finish what I'm saying. I guess we'll wrap it up. But
yeah.
It's not important. It's probably so long past that I can forget about this theory. But, I mean, there's still going to be a Secret Invasion TV series on MCU. On Disney Plus, but who knows. But what I'm trying to say is that there was this movie, and I can't remember which one right now. Maybe it was a Spider-Man. I don't know. I don't remember. But it happened after Iron Man 3. In Iron Man 3, Tony Stark promised Pepper Potts that he wouldn't wear the suit anymore.
Right.
So that never happened without any explanation. Yeah. But there's this one movie where
it was Thanos that made him put the suit back on. Right. Thanos coming, wasn't it? Wasn't that why he put the suit back on?
Well, no, because we had Ultron before that, didn't we?
I'm trying to remember how the timeline went.
Iron Man 3 happens right after the original Avengers, because he's going through post-traumatic stress disorder from the Battle of New York.
Right, okay. Well, never mind then.
So he just flew that out the window.
Yeah.
Flew that out the window with a jetpack. Anyway, so the movies don't say it. I just think maybe one theory, she was just upset about that, but there's the beginning of one film, maybe Civil War, I'm not sure. I don't remember which one, but there's a beginning of one film where Tony Stark is introducing Pepper Potts as like the new head of Stark Industries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's in an auditorium, the press is there, she doesn't show up. It's just a complete no-show, and she's not in the movie at all. And I think he's calling her, leaving her a message or something. Basically, they're taking a break, but then later, that wasn't Spider-Man, maybe that was Civil War, but later, in the first Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, she's just randomly there. Arm candy. He's about to introduce Peter Parker Spider-Man as the newest Avenger, but he doesn't know that there's real press back there. He thinks it's a test, so he turns down the Avenger position. And so Tony's like, well, I have to do something. I called the press. You want to get married? And Pepper Potts is like, yeah. And he has a ring in his pocket. And this is why I thought this theory, this is just so weird. She goes from, I don't want to see you, I don't, even to the point of not showing up to her own press conference that she's a new head of Stark Industries, not talking to him at all, to, yeah, let's get married. And just, just right now. Why? Just because we have a press thing.
Interesting.
And so my theory was that she got abducted by Skrulls. Now, a lot has happened since Captain Marvel, because that was set in, 92. And there is a Secret Invasion Disney Plus TV series coming out, so I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. And then, to be completely honest, they could reveal that Tony Stark was a Skrull and the real Tony's still alive, for all I know.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
But they're not going to do that. I hope not. That would be terrible.
Imagine if Robert Downey ever falls on hard times, he'll find a way to come back, and pay him $40 million a movie or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we both like Morbius. I recommend it. One quick comment: the special effects were actually really good. I thought the fight scenes were awesome.
Even though
the animation of Morbius, and even down to where he's gliding on.
Yeah, that was great.
I guess he can sense what do you call
echolocation.
Well, he also can sense wind and stuff. I don't know. Air currents. That's what I was gonna say. He can sense air currents, I guess, in a similar way that a bat could, and glide on them. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, CGI was really good. And then obviously his girlfriend is also a vampire now.
Yes.
So, she'll be coming back in the next movie, or the Sinister Six movie. Question is, will she turn on him, or will she still love him?
Well, I don't know. The Bancroft character was there for his origin, except she was a secretary, not a doctor, but she was Morbius' girlfriend. But it's my understanding that, and I don't know how yet, but she becomes a cult leader later.
Interesting.
Might be one of his villains. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, that would be more interesting to me than if she just joins up with him. It'd be more interesting if she became.
She might be the villain of the next movie.
A villain. That would be kind of cool, actually.
I'm confused on how she became a vampire.
I think is that there right before she died, she bit his lip and then got some of his blood and drank it, more or less, and then but it didn't connect in his brain because he was in vampire mode, and he ends up drinking some of her blood. So he didn't make the connection that she got some of my blood, or just didn't think that it would do anything. But then obviously she comes
really shouldn't
back to life later. Yeah, you wouldn't think it'd be enough.
But if we can accept a man without wings gliding on air currents and
Yeah.
getting vampire powers, we can accept anything else in this film.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, it looked great, but it was a little silly. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like what did his bone structure change? Like, because humans are not
Aerodynamic.
well, no, and we're too heavy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have wings that are much lighter and stuff. Like,
I mean, if you notice,
there's a whole science behind it. Like,
he doesn't go fast. He just disappears in like Nightcrawler smoke.
yeah, no, that didn't really make sense as a vampire power, but man.
Well, I mean, it makes sense as a supernatural vampire power, but it doesn't make sense as
True.
a scientific vampire.
Yeah, that part, like, because they tried to make it scientific,
Yeah.
that didn't quite make sense.
No. I loved it though. It was great.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, that's
we'll
a
wrap it up.
good. Yeah, Will's wife is calling him, so that's a good segue. So hey guys, we'll have a couple more segments here in the episode, and close it up, and then you'll be hearing from us again next week. Peace, my fellow nerds.
Peace.
Welcome to this week's edition of Sci-Fi Focus. Benjamin Sisko might be the best Star Trek captain of all time. I know, I placed him third on my list, but in preparing for this week's segment, I realized he should probably be first. At least, if I were evaluating him objectively compared to the other candidates. You know, without nostalgia. Why do I say that? First, I need to give credit where it is due. As part of my preparation, I watched a YouTube video on the Trek Culture channel, which made a strong case for Sisko as the best captain. If you get a chance, check it out. The link will be in the episode notes. For the moment, allow me to share my thoughts on the subject. I think it is fair to say that Benjamin Sisko faced more challenging obstacles to becoming a great captain, both internal and external, than any other captain in the mainline Star Trek universe. Remember, he had lost his wife shortly before arriving at Deep Space Nine. Here he is, grieving the loss of his spouse, faced with the daunting task of single parenthood, and unsure of his allegiance to Starfleet's objectives. Under those circumstances, he sets out to run a busy space station, which was built by Cardassians, no less, some of whom still claim ownership over it, and this station is visited daily by ships from all over the quadrant. No small task. That would be hard enough, right? Then add to that the Dominion War, as well as the burden of being chosen by the Prophets to be a spiritual leader for a planet of Bajorans. And he's a human. More and more challenges. It's like Ronald D. Moore was a sadist. I love you, Ron. Make more Battlestar Galactica, please. What I genuinely appreciate about Sisko's character development, however, is that he does not come through these firestorms unscathed. He makes mistakes, some of which could be considered war crimes. He gets angry, and he lets it show. He makes some choices out of pain, some out of fear. And yet, his very human spirit perseveres. He overcomes. And we love him for both his failures and his victories, do we not? Yes, my fellow nerds, we do indeed. Now, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to talk about the wonderful Avery Brooks. His performance as Sisko is outstanding. And that voice, I'm sure it has made many a woman and man swoon. No, but seriously. He was Star Trek's first black captain to headline a series. I don't believe I am overstating the significance of Avery's casting as a black leading man portraying someone in a position of authority on primetime American television in the 20th century. Groundbreaking stuff. And he modeled a strong, affectionate fatherhood for a generation of young black men who grew up watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine. His impact, I imagine, will be felt for decades to come. Thank you, Avery Brooks. I believe that's a good place to stop. If you haven't yet watched Deep Space Nine, check it out. It is currently streaming on Netflix and Paramount+. If you love sci-fi or just damn good television, you won't be sorry you tuned in.
Hi, this is Cartoonist Will, and welcome to Japanese Jaunt. Anyway, today on Japan Jaunt, I would like to talk to you all about Legendary Wolfman vs. Godzilla, or in the Japanese, Against Godzilla. Not that it was ever translated to English. Anyway, so you might be wondering, or at least you all who are big Godzilla fans like me, this is not a real movie. What are you talking about, Will? Well, first of all, a bit about me and my love for Godzilla. I love Godzilla. I loved Godzilla as a kid in the 90s. Absolutely in love with Godzilla. My favorite era of Godzilla films would be the original in the 50s up until the end of the 70s. I really loved Godzilla 1985, aka Return of Godzilla Returns as well. But that was my favorite era up until Terra Mechagodzilla, or whichever the last film was. It's been a while. I own all of these on VHS or DVD except Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, the Smog Monster. I cannot find it. I'm sure it's easier to get now, but I haven't looked in a long time. Anyway, I've got a VCR. I'm afraid to pop something in. It might eat the tape. Anyway, so I really love Godzilla, man. I really do. I don't have some of the more recent films, but up until the end of the 90s, Godzilla 2000, even the American Godzilla, which was not great. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't Godzilla, right? So I've got up until Godzilla 2000 and Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. I've got that. Anyway, getting back to it, Legendary Wolfman vs. Godzilla. What is that? Well, it's a fan film, but wait, hold on. It's not just any fan film. Nakajima, am I saying that correctly? I forget his name. Lower level employees of Toho, including, I believe, Nakajima, who directed this fan film, they actually bought real props and sets from Toho in the 70s and 80s. That's when this film was made. Some of the footage was made in the 70s and some in 1983. It uses two different Godzilla suits. I don't think they're official Toho suits, but they're made very close to two different Godzilla suits from the 60s, I believe. And this is just a top-notch fan film. It feels like a real Toho film. It feels like it would fit in there with King Kong vs. Godzilla or something. It's great. Man, I love this thing. It brings me back to my childhood. I mean, not that I was alive in the 60s, but you know what I mean. Watching these things, renting them from Blockbuster in the 90s. I love this movie, Legendary Wolfman vs. Godzilla. But before you get too excited, the film was never officially released. Toho obviously doesn't like it for copyright reasons. It is not official. But it's just, how awesome is that? Not only this guy, but a whole bunch of ex-Toho employees got together and made this love letter to Godzilla. And yeah, it's great. I mean, the plot is, there is surviving footage. Go look it up on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, Wolfman comes to Japan. He transforms, scaring the heck out of some poor lady. He gets irradiated or something, grows to giant kaiju size. The military goes after him. Godzilla appears and attacks the country. And then the two of them get in a big fight. And you can see all this on YouTube. I mean, it's not a feature-length film, but the footage is there, and it's great. Now, Nakajima, if I'm remembering his name correctly, he's the director of this. He's been wanting to put this out on DVD or something, but for legal reasons, he can't do that, obviously. He can't, Toho doesn't want to do that. They, copyright reasons, and that's understandable. But, man, go check out YouTube. This is great stuff. Well, this has been Japanese Jaunt, or Japan Jaunt for today. And Cartoonist Will, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode of the Irreverent Nerd Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at irreverent_nerd. That's at irreverent_nerd. You can also check out my YouTube channel, appropriately titled Irreverent Nerd. If you would like to send me a voice message to be included in a future episode, please go to anchor.fm/irreverentnerd/message and drop me a line. Stay weird, my fellow nerds. Until next time, may the Force be with you. Make it so. Avengers assemble! I'm Batman.